Yes, yes. I have quite a background in Irish. It was really Irish that started me off. I used to go to this, as I mentioned earlier, to this Saturday evening dance in our parish hall. And this was a mixture of old time and Irish dancing. And then the accordionist that played a lot of Scottish stuff, and he was the guy that introduced me to Klezmer melodies. And I played along with him. So I was playing quite a bit of Scottish. And then I joined a folk dance group, which was mainly for dancing. And then they converted to a Scottish group, and I went off to college and played for 3 years in an Irish ceilidh band every other week. And that was virtually all learning by ear and playing by ear. Early 60s, I played for the Irish Feshers here in Newcastle. That was for solo dancers and set dancing. Played for those. And out of that, I was invited to go to France on a folk tour in 1963 to play for these dancers, which I did. So again, that was Irish. And one of the most pleasant sounding experiences I've had with the fiddle was playing in an open air theatre in Nancy. The actual shell of the theatre was a quarter of a quadrant, quarter of a sphere, and I was doing solo fiddle for these dancers, and the sound out of that auditorium was fantastic. But that was 1963. I came back and still with the Cairn dance band, played 1 or 2 dances until I moved to Blythe, and then the Dale was set up in 1968. All the bands that came down from Scotland all had fiddlers in them, very, very good fiddlers. The most outstanding one from my point of view was a guy called Sid Chalmers, who played with Jimmy Shand and his band. The first Jimmy Shand dance I went to, I danced all night. This was an 8 till 2 in the morning dance, and I missed one dance. But the next year I sat and watched Sid Chalmers play, and learned a lot about his fingering. There's not a lot of position changing in Scottish music, not the traditional stuff, not the dance music. But he would do some position changing, and it was him that I watched and learned a lot from. I never met Hector McAndrews, although I did hear him on the radio, and I've got several LPs and old 78s of his. Another influential fiddler was Ian Powery. Ian Powery ran an outstanding dance band in Scotland in the 60s, 50s, 60s. And he emigrated to Australia and then came back and did a lot of groundwork in music, running courses and programs, Stirling University, and I was very privileged to be able to attend some of those each year for a whole week. And I learned very much about band playing from him. Different style altogether from Sid Chalmers, although they were not quite contemporaries. They had competed together in various competitions in the 1930s. Another fiddler that influenced me, but in different ways, was Angus Fitchett. And the influence there was the lovely compositions that he produced. Sometime in the early 60s, Angus Fitchett came and played in the Shands band. Now, he'd been out of action for some time, and I've got to say, the first time I heard him in the band, I wasn't particularly impressed. But then I started to realise that he'd been out of it for a long time. He came back, and some of his music is absolutely beautiful. And I have some recordings of his which I do cherish very much.